Merry Christmas from the As a Podcast. Noah is shaking his head in disappointment.
That is an atrocious intro. We already lost 52,000 viewers.
Oh, well, you know what?
Listeners.
The ones that stayed are real ones, so
Yeah.
we'll stick with them. What are we talking about today, Noah?
Well, today we'll cover a bit of politics and sport. We'll see where it takes off from, but I think I'll probably start at someone that we haven't talked about in the first two episodes as much. He might have copped a few mentions, but I'm going to start off talking about Anthony Albanese, the Australian Prime Minister, who we all love.
Very much.
But of course it's a podcast, so
Don't cancel us.
Can't see my fingers across. Where do we start?
I'll let you kick it off. Why is his name in topic?
Well, what I really wanted to talk about actually happened about 2 weeks ago, let's say. Maybe 3. And it was something that they tried to do. It started a few months ago. They tried to do without everyone knowing. It's called the MAD Bill, which stands for the Misinformation and Disinformation Bill. Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't.
Do you know nothing about it?
Nothing about it. Tell me.
Well, so misinformation and disinformation is essentially, it can be characterized as part of free speech. So people have the right to say what they want to say, whether it's true, whether it's false, if they meant it to be false, they have a right to speak, yeah?
Yeah.
The Misinformation and Disinformation Bill, essentially, how do you say, it allowed the government and mainstream media to decide what information was right and wrong. So imagine that. So if you were pushed over by anyone on the street and a journalist came up from ABC and said, we're going to write it up as you pushed him over, that's the new fact.
So it's just word of mouth.
Pretty much. It's so...
Like you don't have to have evidence to back it up.
No, you don't. And... That
doesn't make sense.
And... Exactly. And I know it's a very simple way of saying it in that way, and it's probably not the best example. There might be a few holes that I'm missing, but essentially we're allowing the government and mainstream media to decide what's right and wrong. And if that bill was passed, which it wasn't, thank heavens, but if it was passed, we could possibly be fined or even, like we see in Britain, jailed for the things we say on social media, in public and protests. It completely closes the freedom of speech. Did you see what happened in Britain? No. Keir Starmer, oh Lord. You can't say, God, you can't even comment on his bad hairstyle. Not that he has a bad hairstyle, I'm using it as an example.
Who's
Keir Starmer is I should have said Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. His terrible approach to censorship and free speech, he's imprisoning people for things they say on social media. That's against, obviously what he would want to be said. Anyway, going back to Albanese, this Misinformation and Disinformation Bill, it was, you could say, a world first. Not exactly. I mean, obviously there's this type of stuff in dictatorships and communism, which Elon Musk highlighted and said the Australian government is getting closer and closer to communism every single day. Not in those words. It's unbelievable that Albanese and the Labour Party are seriously trying to stop our freedom of speech and decide what's right and wrong. Like, how can you even decide who gets to decide what's right and wrong?
Yeah.
Now, the great thing about democracy and freedom of press, freedom of speech, is that we have multiple different news sources, independent social media, so people posting on Instagram, TikTok, whatever. We have mainstream media. We have press conferences where political officials or whoever's getting reported, sports players, they can say what they want to say. That's the great thing about democracy. You can say whatever, you can get it from a bunch of different sources, and the responsibility for you, the citizen, the person, is to decide what you think is right. There's never going to be stories unless they're all from the same source. For example, something happened in the Middle East, and then let's say like in an Al-Qaeda situation, something happened and Al-Qaeda released a statement, everyone's, everyone's article would roughly be based off that information. Unless an event like that happened, there's no way, you'll never have exactly the same story as someone else. And that's the great thing. People can decide what they think is right and what they think is wrong. And because people know where they get the information from, its political bias, they can understand, if they cared enough to look, what kind of bias it would have. This would completely shatter that fragile structure and precious structure, in that it would completely just eliminate independent media that have large relevance, more than you'd think, for people getting information, or not necessarily getting information, but spreading information. And what we saw in the United Kingdom, it could stop people from posting what they want to post on social media. They can just say it's wrong, and no, that's wrong. We don't like that.
Yeah, I remember seeing something like that. Someone said, or was accused of saying something online, and then he was going to get locked up for it.
In the United Kingdom?
Yeah.
People are getting jailed left, right and centre. I mean, I'm not saying 50% of them being jailed, but there's a whole lot of just normal people like us that post their thoughts on Facebook or X, I'd say.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Someone,
and they
posted their political views,
and they threatened to majorly fine Elon Musk because it was his platform. That's the whole thing. He's like, are you serious? You want me to censor people on my own platform? That's what my platform is for, freedom of speech. People can say what they want to say. If you have a problem with that, that's fine. Everyone can have a problem with that if it's against them. But if you want to take action against that, you're the Prime Minister, you're the head of government, head of state. If you want to take action against someone saying something that you don't like, you're becoming a dictator. You're becoming a communist or a fascist. Pick which one. Anyway, another bill that is sort of similar to misinformation and disinformation, I'll just say, thankfully the Mad Bill did not get passed because the Greens voted against it, because apparently they wanted some more extreme version, is what I'm hearing, because they're completely against misinformation and disinformation. It didn't get passed, but something that did get passed was the social media ban on under 16s.
Yeah, I saw that.
What do you know about that? What are your thoughts on that? What are you thinking?
I feel like it's sort of just useless, because a lot of underage children, like 13, 14-year-olds, even younger, some parents allowing, their 6-year-olds to use social media, which I reckon is not the greatest idea considering what's being posted. But either way, a lot of kids are just saying that they're 18 and that they don't need any, obviously they don't really have an ID on them to show that they're underage, but they can easily just say, oh yeah, I was born in year 2000. They don't need to go through steps to do that. It's quite simple. So introducing this law, it doesn't really mean much. People can just make another account that's 18 and above, or 16 and above, sorry. I mean, yeah, in my point, it's a bit pointless. It's not really, it's more of a dictatorship. They're just doing it just to have more power over, the youth.
Yeah, I agree with your logic. I think there is interesting technology that we don't exactly know what they're going to do yet. I saw an update that Instagram was possibly going to have. And I have seen it on another application. I'm not sure what it was. But they actually have artificial intelligence for facial technology, in that it scans your face and detects what age you are. Now, I just think that's absurd.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How can you tell what age you are from your face down to the year?
But that's what artificial intelligence is doing nowadays. I mean, it's doing crazy things.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But that's a chat for a whole other day.
Yeah, exactly.
But
maybe next episode we can run over a bit of AI.
There's plenty to talk about there. So that's what I think. Kids, they find ways to get around from plenty of things. Hell, I know. Do you know how many times I've gotten around, logging into, I don't know, I think, what is it? Is it NBA, the NBA app that is over 18s? No, that doesn't sound right. I'm not sure, but there's it's so easy to get around things.
Yeah.
They can't enforce things like that. And the fact is, we live in a capitalist society. We have to allow businesses to function the way they want to function. and make the maximum amount of economic profit they do without obviously intentionally causing harm to someone. The more government regulation and sanctions and laws we put on these companies, the closer we become to a communist state. That's what communist is, where we constantly, obviously the economic part is also that we share all the wealth together as the nation, as a nation state, but also that companies have less of their own liberty to do what they want. They have no autonomy to essentially function the way they want to function. And of course, if social media was such a massive threat like they harp it up to be, I would, of course we don't sanction everything, so we're not exactly a communist state yet, but I would be more supporting if it was such a big deal that they make it out to be. But here's the hypocritical part. They say it causes some people to kill themselves, which I'm not saying it doesn't. It does. That's the sad thing. It shows plenty of, body shaming and all that type of thing. And I'm not an expert on that, and I'm not going to enter into why that's bad and why that shouldn't exist. It shouldn't exist. But that's not what I'm trying to talk about. They've excluded arguments from the other side because, unfortunately, the coalition, the Liberal Party, Peter Dunne, has sided with Albanese on this, something that you won't see very often. What an important part of this is missing out is that there are people that are able to connect on social media. Now, I'm not talking about best buddies, mates like you and me that'll want to text, call, whatever, see what we're doing day to day. I'm talking about people that you could say, void of any political bias, let's say like transgender kids. That's definitely a label, and there are people that call themselves transgender children. They have no way to connect with other transgender children, and they feel so alone. Their family doesn't want them to be transgender, or like their school doesn't want them to be transgender. And so I saw this information from somewhere, and obviously it's a bit strange to sort of bring up from our side of the political point of view. But the thing is, these are still people, and they have a right to connect with other people like themselves. So it's stopping that for children, of course. Now, here's the other thing. The government hasn't actually specified how exactly they're going to do that. Are they going to use digital IDs? We don't know. Are they going to put the liability on the social media companies to enforce the age? We don't know. Number one, you can just lie on your digital ID anyway. And number two, the government would want us to have a digital ID so they can control what we do, and they know where we go and all the little things they do. So if the time comes, they have all the pins connecting to our picture. They know exactly what's going on. And I'm not a big deep state conspiracy theorist, as some other people I know are, but it's not a good look to have digital IDs. It's as simple as that. We don't need it. Like, really, why do you need a digital ID on something like, when you could use, there are some sort of facial recognition technology, but it's not necessary. And there's the other thing. If parents don't want their kids to have social media, it's their responsibility to stop them from doing that. On Apple devices, I can't vouch for Android, but you can lock apps. It's as simple as that. You can lock apps. You
could have screen time on them or something.
Exactly.
Like that. I have a mate that still has screen time. Mind you, 17, he still has screen time, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. If anything, I reckon more parents should probably be putting at least a screen time on certain apps.
I know I would. I'm not letting my kids sit on their phone all day, especially some social media platforms.
Yeah, well, just speaking from personal experience, it's just the amount of videos I see. I'm not the type that likes to spend hours upon end just scrolling through reels, but occasionally when I do see just in my free time scrolling through a few reels, some videos you come across shows how much you're actually wasting time on. I think it was something like 9 years in total, in your lifetime.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
It's just when that fact comes into play, you're like, wow, a whole 9 years of my life could be wasted just scrolling through reels, and like, what are you gaining out of it realistically? Like, yeah, you could find a few funny videos, send it to your friends, like you get the occasional good one, like possibly starting up a business idea, you know what I mean? But realistically, it's not that worth it if you think about it.
You know what I find really interesting about what you just said?
Mm.
That's completely true for us. But in China, I mean, of course, this is a communist government dictating what they want their people to see. But in their case, it's actually worked. You should see the feed, the algorithm, what it gives them there. Obviously, their TikTok is from China, so they can influence what's being put into their screens. They do put propaganda of Chinese government, great, haha. But they also do useful videos for them. It's educational. It's not brain rot.
That's what we
stuff.
should have more of.
Exactly, but it's not brain rot stuff that's constantly, serves absolutely no purpose. That will literally have those 9 years completely wasted. That's what I fear for my children. That's why I don't use social media myself. I don't want to just waste a bunch of time on useless scrolling.
Yeah, and I mean, the videos that you see nowadays, they're not called brain rot for no reason, because it's just, as much as it can be funny to some younger audiences, but it's just not like it doesn't make any sense really. I mean, like, it can be funny, but realistically, like, I'd much prefer see some actual proper, like, educational videos. I'm not saying like mathematical situations that you find out. I'm just saying, like, I prefer actually see some, like, even like workout plans, or like eating healthier, like something like that, something that can actually benefit me, because I know that sometimes I have lapses in my life where I could eat a lot of like junk food, and like, I don't realize it. And sometimes it takes a video online to see that you actually need to start eating healthier, because it affects you, and
Well, that's a really good point. They have some of those videos, but here's the thing: the algorithm is specifically designed not for what you enjoy most, not for what makes you happy most. It's for what will make you scroll on the next one.
Yeah.
And generally, it is the videos that make you feel deprived. It's what makes you want more. They keep giving you those videos. Their whole goal is so you scroll to the next one. That's the only thing they want. And generally, when they give you a video like, get off social media, you shouldn't be on social media wasting all this time. Look, 9 years of your life gone. And they realize everyone's getting off. They can track this stuff. Everyone's getting off when they see this video. They're going to stop recommending those videos because they don't want people getting off their social media platforms.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's legal. It's capitalist, free market. They can do whatever the hell they want. They're a business. But banning it for all kids is not the right way to go. It's like guns. If you give someone a gun, they can shoot someone offensively, or they can shoot someone to protect themselves in defense. It's not the tool. It's the way the people use it.
Yeah.
So I don't think banning it for kids is the right way to go at all. Completely the wrong way. I think there's plenty of different solutions that we can do.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, back to staying on track, the Albanese bashing we have going on tonight. How's what's going on with his the bar mitzvah that he went on Sunday? On Sunday, and
I mean
that whole shenanigan.
Explain to me what is a bar mitzvah?
Well, a bar mitzvah is like a Jewish tradition. In when you become, I'm not exactly sure what part of the Jewish, what it marks in the Jewish religion and culture, but it's essentially when you cut the foreskin off of a male baby's penis.
Yeah.
And
circumcision.
Yeah, and it's when they're a baby, generally, and yeah, it's a major Jewish celebration. So I'm not exactly sure like why Albanese thought it would make a bunch of Jewish people that just had their synagogue firebombed. I don't know why he thought it would make them feel better.
It's almost like he's been celebrating that he's been to a bar mitzvah.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
it's pretty much just a desperate, pathetic.
Is he trying to win him back?
That's
what's his tactic here?
I don't know. It was awkward as well when he said that on one of the press conferences. he had like a chuckle and thought, people would, give him a slap on the back, good on you, mate. It was just silence in the room. It was so, like, oh, wow. You could tell he wanted to get the hell out of there, getting his Secret Service or whatever he has, and
Yeah.
like, that was embarrassing. But yeah, and he said that twice. That's the thing, because
Yeah.
he said it when he was at the synagogue, and then in another when he was talking to some people in another not burned down building. But if you don't know what happened, a synagogue in, I think it was Ripponlea, I think it was Ripponlea, it's southeast Melbourne. A synagogue, which is obviously a Jewish place of worship, was firebombed, and I don't think anyone was injured or hurt.
Was it by like a specific group?
Well, we don't know who it was by, but obviously it's an anti-Semitic act, because you don't just happen to have a firebomb in your hand and light it or whatever.
So is anti-Semitic when you're against Jews?
Correct.
Yeah.
So you don't just happen to have a firebomb in your hand and throw it into the nearest
Yeah.
religious site.
It's obviously a direct attack. It's targeted. Yeah.
And what do we call attacks on places of worship? Terrorism. That's pretty simple, yeah.
Yeah.
When it's
not like an extreme terrorism, but obviously
but it
like,
is a
we don't want
terrorist
it's a terrorist.
It's
Like we don't want people just burning down buildings.
Yeah,
obviously.
religiously motivated because it was a synagogue. And I don't know why it took so long for Albanese and Jacinta Allen to say that. Like, come on. What do you think it is? Jacinta Allen said she was waiting for the Victoria Police to come up with some, I don't know if it was the report or what it was. But how is that not an act of terrorism? It's not like they just had firebombs sitting there in the synagogue and someone accidentally lit it. Come on, of course it's terrorism. You're attacking a synagogue. That's like a no-brainer. And honestly, if there's leftists that try to say otherwise, it's ridiculous. Like, to even bring that into question that it's not. Like, imagine if someone went up and if someone bombed a mosque. Oh Lord, God, the Palestine protests that there would be in the streets. God, you'd never hear the end of it.
Yeah, I know.
And thankfully, no one was hurt. There was, however, a lot of artifacts damaged and scrolls and scriptures. I'm not exactly sure what they have there in synagogues, but there was a lot of things damaged that they can't recover.
Yeah, you would imagine. I mean, a fire would have just completely destroyed the place.
But that's like, it's just terrible, and he's doing absolutely nothing about it. And the thing is, a lot of people say, in fact, independent reporter Avi Yemini from Rebel News, which I was watching him in trying to interview Jacinta Allen before she ran away in her car. It was quite humorous and probably frightening for Jacinta what Avi was saying. But the thing he was trying to ask is, he did say, for the Jewish community that blame you directly for this attack, what do you have to say to them? And she just came up with some response that tried to fill in the blank that had no real relevance. And I do think that's a very direct question, which is hard for her to answer in any real way, in that, of course, she didn't go out there and firebomb it herself. But to her and Albanese, they promote this anti-Semitic culture in Australia that you're allowed, they let these protests go ahead. They instruct the police to, if there's one Jewish person and a bunch of Palestinian people, and the Palestinian people are in the... Sorry, not Palestinian protesters. And the Palestinian protesters, if they're in the wrong, doesn't matter, move the Jewish person away because it's obstruction of peace. Yet, the protesters are blocking this Jewish person's right to go wherever they want to go. They're creating an anti-Semitic culture in Australia. So, of course, they're somewhat to blame for this. And now it's led to a synagogue being bombed. But what's next? If they're not quick to call it a terrorist act, what's that going to say to the people? Like, what can they say? Like, you're not outright, we are here with the Jewish community, this will never happen again, we're increasing security. No, it's just, we don't know if this is a terrorist attack. This could have been an accident. We're not exactly sure. We're looking into it. We have a few policemen out there. Like, come on, it's not a sitcom. Like, we know what's going on here.
Mm.
It's just...
It's very obvious that it's a directed attack. It's not, it's just gonna, like you said before, just have like a, a
firebomb.
Yeah, have a firebomb to just throw in a synagogue.
It's quite frustrating. And I'm not Jewish. I've got no connection to... I don't actually even think I know anyone that's Jewish. But, like, this is just ridiculous. Like, even Israel-Gaza war aside, this is just common sense. Like, this is just basic, exclude everyone else in the world, look at Australia,
I don't understand, it's not going to affect what's going on in Israel at the moment. Like, it's not going to affect the war that's going on there. It's like, throwing a firebomb into a synagogue in southeast Melbourne, you said?
Yeah.
That's not going to affect anything. That's just a stupid act, and like it's obviously a targeted attack.
Well, the thing is, this is what the Palestinian leaders, if there are any left, would call useful idiots. They like to call these people internationally that fight for their cause useful idiots. They promote their cause and they don't actually know what Palestinians or at least the leaders are fighting for. They're fighting for the extermination, number one, a complete liberation and takeover of Israeli lands by the Palestinian people. Number two, a removal of all Jewish people from the Israeli, or what they want to call Palestinian state. And number three, an extermination of all Jewish people. This isn't a secret. Like, it's in their founding doctrine. I'm not exactly sure what it's called. It's some sort of a doctrine. It's in Hamas's founding papers. I don't know what it's called. Like, it's not a secret. So if you're supporting Hamas's will, you're actually supporting annihilation of all Jews, because that's what they support. You can go to there was footage from journalists going into Gaza, and all these Palestinians are crying, we hate Hamas, kill Hamas, and then
Who's Hamas again?
Hamas is the terrorist group that the Palestinian terrorist group that Israel are fighting against in Gaza. And these are all like these poor people. They're dehydrated, starving. Plenty of them have body parts missing. And I'm not saying none of it was from Israel, but that's a conversation for a different day. But the fact, like, they're all saying, Hamas, they stole our food, they stole our water. Like, the main reason these people are in such a terrible condition is not because of Israel, it's because of Hamas. And by you supporting Palestine, the head of Palestine at the moment is Hamas. So you're supporting Hamas. The only the people that are actually friendly to the Palestinians, there are Arab Israelis. The people that are friendly to the Palestinians are the Israelites, the Israelis. So there's no reason to be anti-Semitic for the war or in general. Just keep in mind, I did go a bit far-fetched there, a bit out of the conversation, but what on earth does a synagogue in Melbourne, which, what would that Jewish community really, how much influence would they have over the war in Gaza?
Pretty much nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why would bombing them? It's just
creating conflicts in Australia.
It's just giving the Palestinian protesters a bad rap. Even if it wasn't the Palestinian protesters, who's going to think who did it? The Palestinian protesters, of course, because they're anti-Israel.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to think. So it's just giving themselves a bad rap. Because it doesn't achieve anything. Except sympathy for the Jewish community, which they deserve. Very hypocritical. Like, this whole race, it's racism, and it's just completely Like, I just can't stand racism anymore.
Mm.
Not from, like, just treat everyone like... Just forget about race. Just treat everyone like a human.
Well, another thing that has been brought up in recent news down in Australia regarding racism and division is the Indigenous All-Stars game in the AFL.
What?
Now, yeah, I don't know if you've heard about it.
No.
They're creating a team in the pre-season who is going to play against Fremantle, who has a few Indigenous stars on their team, such as Michael Walters, and they're making a Indigenous team that is going to play against Fremantle in Perth. I don't know what the stadium they're playing at. I don't think it's Optus. Actually, no, sorry, it is at Optus. But yeah, they're creating I think they've released 11 players so far. Maybe by the time this is released, they might, have released the full thing. I'm not sure. But, yeah.
That's ridiculous.
A few names, such as Keziah Pickett, Liam Ryan, Michael Walters, as I said, Callum Archie, Charlie Cameron, Bobby Hill, Bradley Hill. They're just a few names that have been released. But, yeah, talk about racism and division. I mean, you don't see people making a full Australian team.
Yeah, like it's
Australian
not like we're making
All-Stars team.
all-white team. Like, God, imagine the press there. Like, excluding any other race from joining our team. Like,
it doesn't
or
really
better
make
off,
sense.
if you say something like, well, they're the Indigenous people of this land, which, I was born here, so, like, I'm as much Indigenous as them without creating division in society. If you're going to say they're the Indigenous people, well, imagine the press if we created a non-Indigenous team, or even better, a non-Indigenous All-Stars team. Like, imagine that. That would not be allowed.
Yeah.
Never hear the end of that.
Honestly, if there's an All-Stars team that they should bring back, instead of creating an Indigenous All-Stars, creating division, I reckon they should bring back the EJ Whitting game, if you remember what that is.
I love that.
It's, for those of you who don't know what the EJ Whitting game is, it is a game where they choose, obviously, 2 AFL teams, which include very familiar names, mainly like older players that have retired, such as Matthew Richardson.
Fev.
Yeah, Fev. They're just a few names that have made appearances. I reckon they should bring that back, because that's not only, a blast from the past for people like our parents or even us who didn't get to experience watching.
Well, we know who a lot of these people are, like the commentators.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's good for us because obviously we didn't get to see him play because we either weren't born or just don't remember it. But it's also good for people like our parents who get to rewatch that some of these people are their favorite players. Growing up. So getting to watch them again, it's almost like, oh well, geez, this is exciting.
Not to mention, it's so funny.
Yeah, it's funny just watching him just not give it, do not care at all.
The highlight reel that you get out of these games, they're just gold.
Kicking it from 80 meters out, just not caring.
Okay, I was thinking of those, when those, I don't know who it was, but it's like one of those really old, not exactly fit guys in the full forward, and they'd stuff up and trip over it.
Yeah.
They're all laughing at him.
Yeah, exactly. I reckon that's something that would be very enjoyable to watch. Instead of, like I said, creating an Indigenous All-Stars team, just obviously they're trying to be extra inclusive to the Indigenous.
They're trying to be woke and they're trying to relate to communities that honestly plenty of Aboriginal people don't want this division anymore. Yeah. They don't want to.
I mean, they've already got their own round. I mean, now they're having
is it 1 round or 2 rounds?
I'm not sure. I know it's definitely to have a round. I don't know if they've changed it to 2 rounds. I'm not too sure. But, yeah, I mean, how about just bringing up another Indigenous person in the AFL community, Uncle Colin, he goes by. In the AFL, I don't know what game it was. Was it the Carlton-Brisbane game? Or was it the Sydney game? How he said, I forgot what he said, but he said some pretty, almost like this is our land sort of thing.
Was that Uncle Colin or was that another guy? Because I
think-
feel like I saw that a few days ago, and it was another guy saying, and he was like lecturing for like, was it 9 minutes or 7 minutes? He was lecturing the whole stadium.
Maybe it was someone else.
On
I heard it was Uncle Colin. I'm not 100% sure, but I got told it was Uncle Colin. I'm not sure if it was someone else.
It was lecturing the whole stadium on why they do acknowledgements and like whose land it is.
Yeah.
And God, I mean, I know that there's plenty of larger issues like the price of living to be worrying about in Australia. But Peter Dutton saying things like he's going to only put one Australian flag in press conferences does think that I think that's a perfect idea, because you have to unify the country. You just can't have this kind of segregation. It's not what we want. Oh, it's not what I want. It's not. Do you want that?
No.
It's not what plenty of Indigenous people want, because they know it segregates them from the rest of Australia. It's just division at its finest.
Yeah. I reckon we can go a bit off topic from the whole racism and Indigenous. I reckon we talk about something...
Stick to sport?
Yeah, stick to sport a bit.
Alright,
one thing I do want to run through is the Christmas NBA games.
Ooh.
I know a lot of people will be watching that. Do you know who's playing?
No idea.
I reckon we'll go through all the games. There's 5 games. We'll go through who do you reckon's going to win, best players. First of all, we have the New York Knicks versus the San Antonio Spurs. Who do you reckon's going to win that game? Mind you, it's the New York home ground.
Well,
Madison Square Garden.
I'll tip New York for that, because I've got absolutely no idea who plays on any of those teams. And
Well, you know Victor Wembanyama?
Sure.
The really tall...
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah. He's on San Antonio.
Oh,
I
true,
will agree with you with New York winning that. I reckon Jalen Brunson will have a very good game. I reckon he'll drop more than 30. Next game, we have the Dallas Mavericks versus the Minnesota Timberwolves at Dallas. Who do you reckon's going to win that one?
Does Doncic play for...
Mavericks, yeah. Dallas.
I'll tip Dallas.
Yeah. Honestly, I reckon I'm going to go with the Timberwolves. I'm going to go for a bit of an upset here. I reckon, Anthony Edwards has been having a strong impact on their team. I reckon he will sort of, get them fired up and wanting to win that game. So I'm going to take Minnesota for that. Next up, we have the Boston Celtics versus the Philadelphia 76ers. It's in Boston, so...
Well, I do go for Boston. Not that I'm an avid supporter, but I'm wearing the Boston hat right now. And,
yes, you are.
It's just been my, if I've got to pick, it's my number one team ever. Like for the last, 6 years, that's been my number one team. So I'll put my money on them.
Well, you're wearing a Celtics hat and a Golden State Warriors shorts, so...
Oh, yeah, well, the
I don't know
Golden State
about
Warriors
that
are
one.
pretty comfy, I'll say that.
Well, they are also playing, so you said Celtics are going to win?
Yeah.
Against Philadelphia? Yeah, I can agree with you on that one. I reckon Jason Tatum will do very well in that game. Next up, we have Golden State versus the Lakers. It's in Golden State.
I'll tip Golden State, not because I want to tip all the home teams, but you showed me a reel through the week of Steph Curry passing the ball out of bounds, because it was like around the back pass, and he usually does that to Klay Thompson.
Oh yeah.
And then because obviously he's left.
Yeah.
That was like, I feel bad for Curry.
Yeah.
So that's why I think he's gonna win.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that. I mean, recently, the Lakers haven't been doing too great, I'd say.
Has Bronny Jr. been getting any games?
Not really. He's got his first bucket for obviously for the NBA team. He's been playing J League though.
Yeah, well, his dad's got like 32,000 of them or something, so he's got a long way to go.
Yeah, he's got a very long way to go. I don't think he'll ever sort of get to that point, but obviously LeBron's considered the greatest of all time. So, but yeah, I reckon Golden State will win against the Lakers. which, I mean, even then, Golden State haven't been doing, like, too great recently. I mean, they've been doing, like, they've won a couple games, but, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say because, you know, they're both two teams who have great players, but they're just a bit out of form recently. So, yeah, honestly, I reckon I'll go the Lakers with that one. Although it's in Golden State, I'm gonna go the Lakers, and I reckon Anthony Davis will have more than 30 points.
Ooh.
And then the last game for Christmas, we have the Phoenix Suns versus the Denver Nuggets in Phoenix.
Ooh. That's a tough choice. Because I think Jokic...
He's a star.
I
reckon he's probably leading the... I think he's leading... Sorry. I think he's leading the MVP race.
Yeah?
I'm pretty sure he's winning.
Because I play basketball. I'm a guard, not a big. I don't watch it, but I play. And from what I have seen from Jokic, he uses his body really well. Extremely well. Yeah. And he won the MVP.
And he's a very good 3-point shooter as well. Although he's a big man, he's very good at shooting threes. Yeah, he's very.
And he won the MVP like 1 or 2 years ago, didn't he?
I think it was last year he won it. Was it last year or 2? No, sorry, it was 2 years. It was 2023. It's 2023. He won it because it's already been a season in 2024.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'll probably tip Denver for that.
Yeah. I think I'll go Denver as well.
Does Chris Paul still play for Phoenix?
No, he moved to San Antonio. He's with Wemby.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I reckon I'll take the Nuggets for that. And honestly, I'm going to go Jamal Murray for 20 plus points. I reckon that a few people might not be sort of agreeing with me here, but I reckon he's not as good as he used to be, but I still reckon he's a very good player. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But, yeah, that'll do it for the NBA. But, yeah, is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Well, I will go back on the AFL tracks just for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Because I did see in the news 2 things. I saw, which we mentioned last episode, but we didn't really go into much detail. It was the Carlton and Chincotta, I think, injuries.
Yeah.
And then also I saw just not too long ago, the DeConing. He hasn't... free agent. He hasn't re-signed. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. Start off with Kerno and Chincotta because that's what I'm mainly worried about.
Yeah, well, Kerno, I saw on his Instagram, he posted a story because I think he has a fashion brand now, or unless he's just modeling for him. Yeah, he's just showing off his shorts and, but yeah, he was limping after the surgery, but. Yeah, I think he...
Also, what
I'm not exactly too sure, but I know he did some surgery on his knee. I don't know what happened to it, but yeah,
he's always had knee.
Yeah, that's what made him. What was that against Fremantle?
Yeah, I remember.
How he did his knee.
Was that the game when Mark Murphy scored that?
I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was.
That was a crazy game.
Yeah.
We had 2-3 consecutive years where we just bet Fremantle.
Yeah, I think it's still going because we
still winning.
I think it's still going because this year, Matthew Cottrell scored that free kick.
Oh,
remember how we got awarded that free kick? Which if we didn't get awarded that free kick, we probably wouldn't have made finals because Fremantle were yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyways, going back to the injuries, Kerno. Yeah, I think he should be okay to be back for round 1, hopefully. Slight chance he might miss maybe round 1 or 2, but I reckon he should be back. Honestly, I reckon he should be okay. But anyways, going back to Chincotta, yeah, he's out for I'm not sure how long, but he's definitely missing the start, like the first few rounds at least. I don't know what happened. Do you know his injury? I don't really know too much about Chincotta's injury, but all I heard was that he's gonna miss at least the start of the season.
That's not good.
That's not good because
I think he's
he's a
incredibly
very
underrated.
good tagger.
Yeah.
Him and George Hewitt are definitely our best taggers. But yeah, it's a fairly big loss. It might make room for, because I mean Chincotta is like a starter for our team, well most of the times, so I reckon that might make room for Jagger Smith to maybe debut round 1.
True.
Never know.
If he has a good preseason.
Yeah. One person I have seen have a very good preseason is Jack Silvani. I'm loving to see him back in the side. Yeah,
that'll be good.
he's been going for goal a bit. I saw him in an open training session.
He puts a lot of heart into how he plays.
Yeah.
So I think after missing a year,
I
think he'll really give it his all
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah. But yeah.
And this will be his first time with a kid playing.
Really? Oh yeah, you did have a kid. I forgot about that. Well, not him, but you'd hope not. But yeah, that's just a couple big injuries for us, Chincotta and Kerno.
Now tell me, to Koning, are we like
I heard
close
that.
to losing him?
Yeah, I heard that a few days ago.
Are we going to be shivering for the next season?
Well, honestly, look, I feel like it all sort of depends on how we play him this year. Whether we play him ruck, forward, I'm not sure. I feel like he's built for a ruck, but at the same time, it's his preference. I mean, we don't really know what his preference is. I mean, he looks comfortable in the ruck. I feel like we don't need any more tall forwards because we have Charlie and Harry.
Well, you gotta say though, like, there's times when we didn't have Charlie or Harry, we put him in the forward line and he dominated.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what really showed him to be good in the forward line. But yeah, also with Pitternet as well. If Pitternet's healthy and he's he's fit to play, well, I reckon what would happen for the start of the season at least is put DeConey in Charlie's spot, like full forward or maybe half forward, and then put Pitternet in the ruck, so that way we still have the two forwards in the ruck. But that's going back to the news that we've heard is that his manager, he said in an interview that he got questioned about his future at the club. He said, he's happy wherever he goes. It's just it's a discussion that his manager and the club need to have, and he said he's more focused on his impact to the team. So, I feel like that's a bit of a mixed emotions for Carlton supporters like myself and you.
It might be good for DeConey because he might want to. He might want to.
It shows to other clubs that he's just happy to play wherever and he's focused on bringing his all.
It might be because he might want to be playing a certain position at Carlton. Like he might not want to play ruck or forward. Who knows?
Yeah. And
it's probably like saying to the Carlton selection squad, keeping him on their toes, saying, I've got places that I could be. I think he turned down offers from St Kilda, Sydney, and Geelong, and his brother plays at Geelong, to stay with Carlton because obviously he loved the environment. It's a good club culture.
I heard Carlton was going to try and get his brother Sam.
Interesting. That's
as
very
like
interesting.
as a backman, but I don't know if that's still on the cards because we got Nick Haynes from GWS, so I don't know if that's still going to be on the cards. But I mean, you never know. If that's what it takes to keep Tom, then we might have to get Sam. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't mind seeing two Conings on the field.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that either. I mean, we've already got the Hollins brothers, so that's obviously a good start. But yeah, I mean, it's a bit of mixed emotions, like I said, for Carlton supporters, because it's almost like he doesn't really show his loyalty to the club.
Yeah.
Whereas if he really wanted to stay, he'd be like, "No, I love this club. I really want to give him my all." Whereas he's just said it's his manager's choice, pretty much, and that he's just focused on himself and trying to improve on himself.
He's saying
which is good for the time being because he plays for us. But if he's playing good and we want to keep him, and he's saying, well, he doesn't really care if he stays. Whereas people like Cripps really he's staying for life. He's staying. And
he's from WA, but he's staying.
Yeah, yeah. The only thing that would probably make him move is if he's old and then West Coast might offer him some whopping deal
For like a 1 year extension or something.
Something. 1 year contract.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we just don't know yet, but
But I think that'd be providing Carlton delist him when he's older.
Well, I doubt we'd actually do that.
retires.
I feel like we'd keep him captain at least until he's retired.
Yeah, true. All right.
I think that concludes our Christmas episode.
Yeah. Have a very Merry Christmas tomorrow, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll try and make a New Year's episode. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. If not, we'll definitely see you in the new year. Will you hear from us in the new year?
Yeah. See what happens with plans and stuff, because I know I'm going away for New Year's, so we'll see if we can try and make one. If we can't, we'll definitely see in the early New Year. But focusing on upcoming events. Hope everyone has a very, very good Christmas. But yeah, let us know like usual if you have any topics that you want us to run over, or any questions that you have.
Just even talk about in general.
Yeah, just head to our YouTube or Instagram, unless you're watching this on YouTube. But yeah, just obviously send us some love.
Yeah,
we'd love to hear from you guys. But yeah,
sweet.
That'll conclude this episode.
Cool. All right. See you guys.
See ya.